Well, hey, it's Huck, and I know I'm not looking my best today. Um, I have been holding off making a video for a couple of weeks now. I kind of wanted to fill everybody in on, what's been going on. But I have had a setback here. I had a flare up shortly after Halloween, and I've just not been able to recover from it completely. And I was starting to get closer, but it seems to be whenever I have a flare up, what I tend to do to keep myself out of the hospital is my doctor prescribes me what is a kind of a elevated regimen of steroid called prednisone. I take a daily maintenance dose of prednisone and have for 5 or 6 years now. But it's a very small dose. It's like 5 milligrams a day. That's my daily dose. And I fear don't know because the doctor hasn't suggested this yet. I know there are people in my condition who take a little bit more than that a day. There are people with other conditions that take, more than that a day. And I'm beginning to think maybe that's where I'm headed, is maybe I'm at a point where, the 5 milligram isn't going to cut it. But like I said, I've not officially been given that, diagnosis. What has happened is, I say shortly after Halloween, I must have come down with a chest cold or something. And so the way it works is instead of taking the 5 milligrams a day, they give me a prescription of like 40 pills of 10 milligrams each. And I take like 40 milligrams, like 4 pills a day for 4 days. And then I taper it down to 30 milligrams for 3 pills a day for 4 days. And so on, and down until you take the last, 10 milligrams a day for 4 days. And by that time, you have gone basically a 16-day regimen. And hopefully you're ready to go back to your daily maintenance. Well, I've gone through that regimen once, and when I got down to about the 10 milligrams a day, it was clear I wasn't getting better. I had been feeling, somewhat okay. I was able to get through and do some of the things I had to do, as long as I was taking the higher dosages, because the steroids will do that to you. It'll make you feel pretty good, or at least it'll get you through the day. But once I started getting down to like 10 or like right now, I'm on my second batch. So I did all that. I got down to about 10 milligrams and I contacted my doctor and he refilled the prescription. I started all over again. 40 for 4 days, 30 for 4 days. So this is the second day now where I'm on 20 milligrams a day. And I can tell you I'm not getting better. I've been extremely, short of breath, more than normal. On a normal day, I can take my oxygen off while I'm sitting around, and my oxygen level will be around 96, maybe 97 if I'm just sitting still or whatever. I wear it at night when I sleep, and I tend to wear my oxygen when I am moving around, doing things, because otherwise I do get out of breath pretty quickly. But I've been, measured my ability to walk, for instance. One of the things I've been tested over and over again now is part of my lung evaluation and part of my rehab, which is basically exercises. I know I can walk, anywhere from 400 to maybe 600 feet, maybe 700 feet, wearing oxygen without my oxygen level dipping down, dangerously low. Your oxygen level, when measured with a with an oximeter or whatever they call them. Basically, like I say, if I have my oxygen on, I can walk around and my oxygen level will stay pretty stable at 90, between 92 and 94, till I walk about 400 feet, 500 feet. And then it, might start dipping below that. And once it gets below 90, 88, 89, that's when you got to stop and let your oxygen level come back up. I'm finding that the last few weeks, in the last week in particular, I can't walk across the room. I can't go into the kitchen, for instance, and and put something in the dishwasher and come back to the living room without my oxygen level dropping back, below 90. It comes right back up as soon as I sit down, but clearly I can't do the things I could do even 2 weeks ago. And that doesn't seem to be changing. Yesterday I had a really bad day, really my worst day, and I was beginning to start really getting worried. I had what I guess I'd call brain fog. Things were just, didn't have a lot of mental clarity. I don't know how to describe brain fog, but you know it when you have it. Felt really miserable. And, but the things that I worry about, when I'm having a bad flare-up are things like tremendous pain in my chest or pressure, coughing, and I can't, at any rate, when I'm sitting still, my oxygen level is still often going up to 96. I've even had it as high as 97. But the minute I get up, like I said, so I don't know what's exactly going on here. A week ago, I was supposed to go in and have a heart catheter test last Wednesday. And I was really dreading the test. Not the least of which was because, as I explained before, I had a dear friend, who died undergoing that test. She clearly had a heart condition. She was just, she had just survived a heart attack. So I'm sure there were, reasons for that. But still in the back of my mind, it's, at any rate, I had to go up to Cleveland Hospital's, a branch that they have. It's a little bit closer to me, closer to a town called Chardon, where they have a branch where I was able to go up and get a COVID PCR test, which is kind of the, that's kind of the most thorough. There's like 3 or 4 different COVID tests that they can give you. Some are faster, more rapid. You can even get these instant tests that you can take at home. But the PCR test is kind of like the recommended one. It's the one the hospitals will require, for instance, before you can do a test. And that's why I had to go up there. I had to take that. It was required before I were going to have the heart catheter done the next day, which was Wednesday. While I was up there, I also had to have a little bit of blood work done. And so I did get up there. I was able to go with, my friend. And he is really just, I can't tell you the importance it is to me and how grateful I am, for his help in all of this. He's been going up every time I've had to go to Cleveland, which is now, 9 or 10 times. And every time I've gone to, there's only been one occasion where I've had to go, to one of these things without his help. And actually, that was Tuesday, come to think of it. The one time he couldn't come. He was working, and didn't have much notice, so he couldn't get off work. And I went up there. Fortunately, they have valet service, so I was able to get myself where I needed to go. Some people pushed me around in a wheelchair, and I was able to not have to do much walking, so it wasn't too bad. But at any rate, I went through that Tuesday. And then my friend and I did go up to Cleveland the following day, Wednesday, for the heart catheter. I was a basket case. I didn't sleep at all the night before, Tuesday night to Wednesday. So I went up there. I was feeling terrible. I still wasn't over this, congestion or whatever. Plus, I had no sleep. And the doctor basically took one look at me. The heart doctor was going to perform the procedure, and he said, we're going to postpone this. There's no It's not required that we do this today. So it's not been rescheduled yet, but I'm told it will be rescheduled when I'm feeling better. So that was actually a big relief. The trouble is, in the days since then, I've kind of gotten worse. And yesterday, like I said, was the worst day of all. I was kind of looking forward to yesterday. There was a big a Browns-Raiders game that was kind of important for us Browns fans that we lost. And, of course, the big news about that game, and the reason why the game was held yesterday rather than when it was originally scheduled, which would have been a Saturday game, was because no fewer than like 20 or 21 Browns players, including the head coach, in fact, I think 3 coaches in all, had come down with COVID. COVID is out of control right now, and particularly here in northeastern Ohio. So depending on where you live, you're probably experiencing some of this yourself, perhaps. But here in northeastern Ohio, the hospitals are overwhelmed. Just to give you an example, I've been going back and forth, like I say, almost once a week now to Cleveland, to University Hospitals, which is kind of affiliated with Case Western Reserve University, which is in east side of Cleveland. And it's very near the Cleveland Clinic. So there is a huge medical presence on the east side of Cleveland, and between the two of them, University Hospitals and all of the medical apparatus surrounding that, and the Cleveland Clinic, which of course is, equally, if not even more, globally known. They're both pretty big and prestigious medical centers. And according to what I just got done reading on Cleveland.com, the very hospital that I've been having most of this procedures done is like inundated with like nearly 1,000 COVID patients. Cleveland Clinic has a little bit, I think right around 900 themselves. So I don't know. Something like the numbers are going crazy. A week ago, about 3% of the COVID patients that were being hospitalized in Cleveland were these new Omicron, the new variant, this new highly contagious variant of COVID-19. Last week, about 3% of patients seemed to have that new strain of COVID. The majority of them, the overwhelming majority of them last week, were the Delta, which is for this whole several months now been the cause of the most recent surges of COVID cases. But that has changed in the last week in a big way. 73% of patients yesterday that were in the hospital were brought there were this new Omicron, or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. And of course the new variant, what's really concerning is that it is attacking a lot of people who have already been, vaccinated, even fully vaccinated. So, for instance, all of the Browns players that had to miss that game and sat out, including the coaches, were all fully vaccinated. Cleveland Cavaliers basketball team has like 3 or 4 players now. They've had to cancel their game. In fact, they were scheduled to play, I think, Saturday, and their game was canceled due to COVID. This is happening. There were 3 NFL teams, of course, that had their games pushed back. 2 of them now are being played tonight. The Browns game and the Raiders, of course, was replayed yesterday. But I bring all that up to mention that right now, here in this area in northeastern Ohio, now I live about 70 miles south of Cleveland, southeast of Cleveland, if you will. I'm right on the Cleveland, Pennsylvania border. And the hospitals here, locally, in the Youngstown and Warren area, are overwhelmed with COVID patients. It is impossible, to go there with any ailment at all and get into the emergency room because they're so inundated with COVID patients. University hospitals and the Cleveland Clinic instituted a new rule today, went into effect, that was that if you have COVID, if you need tested for COVID, you can't go to the hospital. They won't test you. They've opened up a new free, testing center in downtown Cleveland somewhere, and they're urging everybody to go there. They're trying to leave some emergency room beds open and some ICU beds open for non-COVID patients. And I guess they've had to bring in like 1,500 National Guard troops to, to deal with this whole issue. And now the reason why I'm bringing all this up is because I don't feel well. Yesterday I felt so bad most of the day that I really thought I should probably check myself into the ER. If I would have felt up to it, I would have gone to one of these drive-in centers to get tested. But to get tested, there's really only 2 ways around here you can get tested. Most of the pharmacies, not all of them, but many of the pharmacies, including a couple right here in my town, will test you through their drive-through. But you have to make an appointment, and then when you check, you have to do this online. So you have to either use your phone or computer or whatever, get online, go through this long process. It takes about 10 minutes to fill out all the information. And then it will check and see, which area, Walgreens or Rite Aid or CVS or whatever, will be able to handle it. It gives you a calendar, and it'll either tell you there are appointments available that day and what time or no. So anyway, I was checking the local Walgreens here in my town because that's where I get my that's what I use for my pharmacy, and I could not get an appointment tomorrow. I could not get an appointment the following day. They do like 2 different types of tests there. They can do the more thorough PCR test, or they can do a more rapid kind of test. There's a third test that can be done at some places too. It's an antigen test where they test the antibodies. So there's basically 3 tests, but not all pharmacies do all 3. Most of them will do 2. The more rapid one, you get your results guaranteed within 24 hours. And basically how that works is you go there, you go through the drive-through, you conduct the swabbing yourself, you put it into some kind of container, give it back to them. They send the results out, get them tested, and you are notified by email or by phone call, or maybe both, if you had a positive test. If it's negative, they just don't contact you. So if you don't hear from them, basically you're good. That's kind of how it works. And the problem is, if you really need an answer now, if you think you're sick, you might be coming down with something, and you don't want to wait a day or 2, to take the test, and then another day, or maybe even longer if it's a PCR test, because they don't guarantee results within 24 hours of PCR test. But in most cases, you're going to get the result within 24 hours after you take it, sometime the next day. At any rate, I've already been dealing with whatever I'm dealing with now for, more than a few days. I don't think, based on my symptoms, that I have COVID. For instance, the new the new variant that everybody is so concerned about because it's so virulent, it is so contagious. It's something like I don't know, 7 times more contagious than previous versions. But the good news in it seems to be that if you're fully vaccinated, particularly if you've had your booster shot, very few of these people are going to end up in the hospital. You might have symptoms, but it shouldn't be, for most people, it shouldn't be serious enough to warrant you going to the hospital. In fact, probably the majority of people have remain asymptomatic or very mild symptoms. There have been some reported deaths from people that are vaccinated. I assume, based on what I'm able to gather, the people, like, for instance, in Cleveland right now, there are, I think, 895 patients in the Cleveland Clinic that are hospitalized with COVID. About 25% of them are vaccinated. So 75% are not. In university hospitals, and I don't know the number of people that are hospitalized there, the numbers are similar. About 19% of the total number of people in the university hospital system, that's both in Cleveland and there's satellite, branches in other communities, about 19% of those are vaccinated, which means about 81% are unvaccinated. Now, the good news is the number of people that are in the ICU, I just screwed up. I got, I'm trying to juggle numbers, and I'm wrong. About 80% of the people that are in the hospital, more or less, are unvaccinated. About 19 to 25%, 19% in the university hospital system, 25% in the Cleveland Clinic system, of those hospitalized patients are in the ICU. That's a big number. That's a big number. That's, 1 out of 5, almost 1 out of 4 people in the hospital with COVID are in the ICU. That's a big number. However, the number of people in the ICU that are vaccinated is a much, much, much smaller number. In fact, it's a number you can count probably on one hand. So, I'm saying that with the realization that I have a fear that those vaccinated people that are in the hospital and those that are suffering more serious, symptoms are probably without any question, either much older people over the age of 65 or 70, people like me that have chronic lung issues to begin with, or maybe some other immunization compromised situation. They're on, anti-rejection drugs or other things that compromise their system. Whenever I'm taking elevated doses of prednisone, that compromises my immunity. And so that's just, it just further weakens my ability to, to fight off any COVID exposure. So for that reason, this week, as I've not been feeling well, like I said, yesterday was a terrible day, and had there not been this situation, I probably would have considered strongly going to the ER and having myself checked out, but frankly, I don't think it's probably the safest place to be right now. And frankly, I don't know that if you went to the ER right now, even by ambulance, they'd be able to see you. You could be waiting around on a gurney, waiting to be seen for hours, days. It's that bad. And so that's what's really scaring me right now, is that I'm not doing, my best right now. I came around last night. I was watching the game. I forced myself, I felt terrible right up to about the third quarter of the game yesterday. And then suddenly I got my second wind. And by the fourth quarter, I actually started feeling a little better. And I noticed, there's some tangible, proof of that. My oxygen levels were a little higher. I was able to get up and walk around better without my oxygen dropping like it had been all day. The fog went away. Like now, I'm able to talk, and so I clearly came out of it a little bit last night, and I got plenty of rest overnight, and I stayed in bed most of the morning. Today was not a great day. It wasn't as bad as yesterday. It wasn't as good as last night. I'm just now starting to get a little bit better as the evening's rolling around, but I'm clearly struggling to get past this. And so I don't know. At some point, I'm going to have to go in and see my lung specialist here locally, I think, and see what needs to be done. I just got off of line before I made this video. I went online and I scheduled a PCR test, a COVID test. I tried to get one here in town at my local Walgreens. There were no appointments available tomorrow or even Thursday. So I finally picked Walgreens, because you can pick other local Walgreens. So I picked one to go to that's out of town. And tomorrow, just before 5 o'clock, I'm going to have to run into, it's about 15 miles away. And but like I said, it'll be a drive-through process, and hopefully I'll be feeling up to doing that tomorrow. And I'm going to just do this as a, just as a precaution, because if I did have COVID, I'm probably one of those people that's going to probably have to get, I would think, pretty serious about any measures to try to nip it, but whatever I've got, I've had for a while, and I don't think it's probably COVID at this point. I probably know by now, but like I say, the last couple of days have not been good, so out of abundance of caution, we're going to go ahead and do this tomorrow. Now, Christmas is coming up. I only had to buy 3 gifts for Christmas. I've got a niece, I've got a sister-in-law, and I've got my friend that I bought something for, and 2 of the 3 gifts have yet to be wrapped, and I need to change my bed, and I don't have the strength to do it. I've got a load in the laundry down in the basement that has been sitting there for like 3 days that I really need to get out of the dryer so I'd have some socks. So this has kind of been not a good situation, but but I'm hanging in there, and so that's what's kind of going on with me. Muddling through. I managed to get up and do what I have to do. I made some chicken Alfredo today. It was not easy for me to do. It was on a typical day when I'm feeling normal, I can do that. I get a little out of breath, but it was really hard to do that today. It was hard yesterday to make the few meals that I made. But I managed. I ate good today. When I finally did get up, which was like, I never sleep in. I'm usually up at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. Today I didn't get out of bed until 11. I mean, I was up much earlier, but I sat in my bed. I was scrolling through my phone, reading through my news feeds and stuff like that. But by the time I got out of bed, I went in the kitchen and I made, ran vinegar and water through my coffee pot, and then rinsed it like twice. And while I was doing that, I made poached eggs on toast with a little bacon. And then, like I say, a little bit later, I had been thawing out these chicken breasts. So I had a jar of, I don't know what it is, some kind of Alfredo sauce that you buy at the store. It's like a jar. And so I cooked some angel hair pasta and cooked up these chicken breasts and chopped them up and made some chicken Alfredo, about 2/3 of which I still have now in the refrigerator because I made so much. But so I'm proud of myself that I'm able to do these things for myself even when I'm not feeling well. And truthfully, these last couple of days have probably been the worst I've felt maybe in, well, health-wise, pretty much most of the year. Last winter was tough on me, and I know I deteriorated somewhat over the course of this winter. And I never got back quite as good as I was the winter before. We're just now starting, what will be winter 21-22. And so to have this setback, boom, right at the start of this winter, it seems like a pretty unfortunate, occurrence for me. And it doesn't seem to bode well for, what maybe to expect this winter. But, like I said, I've got to talk with my lung doctor and see, maybe it's going to be simply a matter of just, beefing up my daily regimen of medications that I'm taking or something. I don't know. I'm going to continue on my maintenance path here. I'm probably going to call my lung doctor tomorrow and see what he recommends. If he wants to see me before the holiday, and I can run in there maybe real quick and let him see. But it's unfortunate because I've been going through all these tests. I've been doing very well with the tests that I have taken. There's really only a couple of things I have left to do. Unfortunately, they're probably the two most risky or strenuous or whatever you want to call it, the colonoscopy, which they sedate you a little bit to do that, and of course the heart catheter test, which is anytime they're sticking a wire up into your heart, going through your vein or whatever, it's a pretty serious procedure, and of course you want to be at your best, and I'm not, and so I don't know. I'll talk more about my evaluation process probably after the holidays. But I wanted to catch up with you and let you know what is going on. And that's where I'm at. I'm not in any grave danger, I don't think. I think I'll be okay.